By the end of this video, you might be really hungry and inspired to bake some cookies. December 4th is National Cookie Day, so I thought that would be the perfect excuse to share some picture books about cookies with you. I know sometimes we talk about more serious topics such as books for Veterans Day or picture books for how to have a growth mindset, but sometimes I like to have a little bit of fun too. So follow along with me today as I bake some cookies and share with you some picture books all about cookies. Like I said, you're probably going to be hungry by the end of this video. Let's jump into those books. The first book, of course, is If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Laura Numeroff, and I'm sure many of you have read this book or have heard of it. It is part of the If You Give series. There are a lot of books in the series now. If you give a mouse a muffin, if you give a pig a pancake, there's so many of them. But if you haven't, in the story, a mouse shows up on a little boy's doorstep, so he gives him a cookie. But if you give him a cookie, he might want a glass of milk. If you give him a glass of milk, he might want to check and see if he has a milk mustache. It is a fun, silly book. Some cause and effect can be taught with this story, but students will definitely get a kick out of all of Mouse's antics and seeing how the boy keeps up with them. And if you didn't know, this is also a series. It doesn't really follow the books, but it does have all the same characters, and it's really fun to watch. It was one of my kids' favorite shows. It was one of my kids' favorite shows when they were younger, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, it doesn't follow the books exactly, but has the same characters in it. So that is our first cookie book. Let's see what else we have. The next cookie book I have is also a part of one of my favorite series. This is The Smart Cookie by Jory John and P. Oswald, and it's part of the Food Group series. This might be one of my favorite from the series. I also really like The Good Egg, but I like this one a lot too. In this book, Cookie never feels like a smart cookie, no matter how hard she tries. She's always comparing herself to the clever cupcakes and the brilliant rolls that are in the bakery. She just feels like she doesn't add up. She doesn't feel like she measures up, I should say. And through the story, she kind of finds out that perfect scores and having all the answers aren't the only signs of intelligence. So not only is this a fun book about cookies, but has a great message for students as well. So definitely grab this one for National Cookie Day or any day of the year. This next one I grabbed because I thought it would be really good for December. I will say it might not make the best read aloud because it's kind of long. This one is A World of Cookies for Santa. Follow Santa's tasty trip around the world, and it's by M.E. Furman. And so on each page, Santa is visiting a different country around the world and kind of sharing how Christmas is almost celebrated in each of those countries. It gives like a short paragraph on each one and how cookies are incorporated and the different types of cookies and what it looks like when he visits each of those countries. So definitely a really neat book, and students will get a lot out of this nonfiction book, but it might be a little long for a read aloud in the classroom. Or maybe you could even do like a few pages each day as students learn more and more about each one. But it's also really neat because it gives recipes for some of the different cookies that are shared in the book, so students can go home and try each recipe with their family on their own as well. The next cookie book is from another one of my favorite authors, The Duckling Gets a Cookie, Words and Pictures by Mo Willems. In this book, the duckling asks for a cookie and he gets one. Pigeon really does not think this is fair because he never gets what he asked for. Do you think that Pigeon should get a cookie too? Read this book with your students to find out if Pigeon gets a cookie or if it's just Duckling. This next book is a brand new picture book. I believe it just came out this year. This one is Cookie Time by Jessie Sima. She is the creator of Not Quite Narwhal, if you recognize that name. But I think the cover is beautiful with the colors and the kids in the box and all the cookies flying around. In this book, the two kids are baking cookies with their grandpa, which they just love to do, but waiting for them to bake can be the hardest part and take a really long time. So they decide while they're waiting for the cookies to bake that they're going to time travel. Well, they time travel a little too far, way ahead of time, and then have a little bit of trouble getting back and get into all sorts of shenanigans. Then they decide that maybe waiting for the cookies to be ready isn't so bad after all. A fun one that I think your students will definitely love reading together. And speaking of silly books, Cookies by Robert Munsch is another one to celebrate National Cookie Day. In this book, Christopher decides to make some cookies that he wants to share with his teacher and his parents. And his Play-Doh cookies may look delicious, but when his parents and teacher eat them and realize they're not quite what they seem, they decide to play a trick back on him. Your kids will definitely be laughing out loud as they read Cookies, but you might want to watch out that they don't make their own Play-Doh cookies to give to you as well. The next two books that we have are nonfiction picture books about cookies. So not only do I have fun stories to read that have cookies kind of as a main character or main ingredient of the books, we also have some nonfiction ones. This one is called Cookie Queen, How One Girl Started Tate's Bake Shop, and it's by Kathleen King, who is the founder of Tate's Bake Shop, and Loie Bundy-Sicole. Not sure if I pronounced that right. But I don't know if any of you have ever tried the Tate's cookies, but this story talks about how the company was founded. So when the author, Kathleen King, was 11 years old, she was obsessed with baking cookies. And she experimented over and over with different recipes, trying different things, maybe more flour, a little less sugar, changing the baking time to make sure that she got these cookies exactly right. And as she was perfecting this recipe, she shared them with the people around her, and more people fell in love with them. And she eventually founded the Tate's Baking Company, then she eventually founded Tate's Bake Shop. And you can get these cookies, I'm pretty sure you can find them at Target or probably any grocery store, but they are delicious. And so it's really neat to kind of see behind the scenes of how this company came to be. The perseverance and the trying new things and the not giving up is a great lesson that students can learn from this book, on top of learning all about cookies. And the last book we have, like I said, is another nonfiction book. This one is How the Cookie Crumbled, the true and not so true stories of the invention of the chocolate chip cookie, and it's by Gilbert Ford. So he talks about how everyone loves cookies, but not everybody knows where they came from. So he introduces us to Ruth Wakefield, who is a talented chef and entrepreneur who introduced us to this delicious dessert, and just how she came about this wonderful cookie recipe. So again, this is a great story to share with students, a nonfiction book about where cookies came from. So I hope that you are hungry and that you are ready to share some picture books all about cookies with your students for National Cookie Day, or really have fun with it any day of the year. I will leave links to all of the books that I shared in the description box down below. And I'd love to know your favorite cookie. Is it the chocolate chip cookie? Do you like a snickerdoodle cookie? Which one is your favorite? I think that December is a month where we eat a lot of cookies and enjoy them quite a bit, and lots of different types of cookies as well. And I hope that you enjoyed following along as I bake some cookies along with sharing these books aloud. And I hope that you will go enjoy a chocolate chip cookie as well. Have a great week.